good evening. Welcome to your first podcast, not another Rangers podcast of 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. For those watching and for those that watch another day, this is the 3rd of January, the day after the biggest, best Old Firm winning over a number of years. Maybe come back to that later as to how big a win it was and how good we were at different points. When was the last time we played as well as that? So we'll come back to that, and then we still have all the other stuff around Clont out and all that stuff we'll talk about over the rest of the time. I think the good thing is the three is about the game. So for those that are watching, please chip in the comment, because if you're at the game, you often can't remember what happens. You can't remember some of the chronology and all and how it goes. So whereby if you're missing things or talking rubbish at any point, chip in the comments and tell us, no, that's actually what happened. It does kind of all merge into one. It's only when you watch it again at a later date you realise that, oh, that ball, he should have done this, or that should have happened there, and so forth. So we will try and cover as much of the game as possible. We'll try and cover some of the main stuff around what it means for Clement, what it means in terms of what's going forward to the rest of the season, the Hibs game coming up. And we have just entered the transfer window, so I think it's probably worth picking up on some of our thoughts around that. So that's the plan for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Hopefully you listen, hopefully contribute, that people are watching, and don't stick to watching the darts and just listen to us in the background. Please join in. Happy New Year, Scotty. How are you?
Good. As I was just telling you, I'm still suffering slightly from yesterday's hangover, but I'll crack on. These hangovers tend to stick around a little bit longer as you get a bit older. But Happy New Year, everyone. Good to be here.
It's the old Lethal Weapon thing, innit? You get too old for this shit.
It's exactly that. Rethinking a lot of life choices at the moment.
What with yourself, Scott? How are you? Happy New Year to you as well.
Happy New Year, Gary. I seen you yesterday, didn't I? I'm feeling a bit better than I have been over Christmas. Don't know if it was some bug or had virus. Nobody really knows. But no, I'm feeling better now. And I enjoyed it yesterday. I didn't expect it. So I think when you didn't expect something, or you weren't expecting something, and it happens, you enjoy it more. Because I went to Ibrox yesterday kind of apprehensive. I wasn't sure what we were going to see. So it was good when you don't expect something and suddenly it pops up and you're thinking, wow. But like Nico Raskin, Captain Raskin says, it's only 3 points.
Exactly. I think it's a fair point to start with, Scotty, actually. I think I said in the chat at one point, when I was going up to the game, it's probably the least interested I'd been going to an Old Firm game. The place was quite muted as you walked along to Ibrox Stadium. When you were in there was very little atmosphere prior to the game kicking off. It didn't have the feel of an Old Firm New Year's Day derby, did it?
No, it didn't. I was going to make a joke about it because it was so cold, but no, it was a bit of a strange one. I mean, my day myself, I spent quite a bit of the pre-match down the Paisley Road West. The pubs weren't as busy as they usually were. You know, you could get a drink quite easily. I was sat at a bar having a couple of cocktails, making sure that I had a good day prior to the game, just in case. And then you kind of at 1:45 when the teams come out, you get a bit of a buzz off the back of that. Flat, and as you say, walking along, getting into the ground, flat. Not really much hope or anticipation. But that quickly changed as soon as kickoff. And I think the energy from the players actually went into the crowd, which was really, really pleasing, because I think sometimes the players kind of wait for the crowd to give them energy, but it was actually really pleasant to be in that environment. And yeah, obviously we all really enjoyed the game. And as the captain said, it's 3 points and it's on to Hibs. And that's really what matters.
Yeah. So Scott, just Scott led us nicely into team news. So the team news comes up at 1:45. I think most of us are probably saying, is it Hefty or is it Ridvan? It's a right back or left back. We don't really know how that's going to happen. I think the rest of the team pretty much picked itself. There wasn't, maybe the only other one that was potentially a decision was around Bajrami and Danilo, I can think of. But other than that, it seemed to be that there was very little options, injuries in defence, and so many other players there. There was very little choice around what they were going to look at.
I seen the team, I thought, this is okay, because I knew with injuries, and listen, the players that were injured, might not have made as big a difference as we think, because these players have been struggling recently for him as well. So I think just because some men are out and as soon as you seen the team, you focused to the three fullbacks, didn't you, thinking who's going to play where? And then you're thinking, should maybe Leon King come in because he's a centre back? Maybe we've only got one on the side, but Proper's been struggling. But middle to front, we were actually okay. Barami's done well in the final against them, so I thought he would maybe bring him back. But it was just goalkeeper for defence we were kind of worried about, just because of, let's say, injury wise. But apart from that, the team looked okay, Gary. I didn't really have any. I thought that'll do. It's just see how they're going to. Formation was going to be like and how we were going to play, and as it seemed, they done really well. But at the start, I wasn't expecting much because the players were missing.
Scotty, were you going to chip in there?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the team and I saw the 11 players, and I was just like, do you know what? That I don't really feel that that's been too much of an issue for us all season. It's more so the depth and what comes off the bench, and then seeing the 11 and seeing, you know, the likes of Danilo, Cortez, on the bench, and all of a sudden you're actually going, we might have something definitely moving forward to help us out when needed, and it's always that defense and that defensive issue. And there's always that debate about who plays centre back. Do you put Sterling at right back and then bring in Leon King? Now, over the years, I've been passionate advocate for giving youth a chance. And I think it's the writing's definitely on the wall for Leon King and his time at Rangers. And I'm not overly surprised, and I'm not actually desperate to give him a chance, because I think whenever he's come in, he's looked shaky at best. And then it would have been desperately unfair on him to chuck him in, regardless of being 14 points behind at the start of the day, and whether we all felt it was a dead rubber at the time. It would have been unfair to chuck him into that environment. So as far as a team concerned, I think Clement got it spot on. And it transpired that way. I mean, I'm actually talking how I felt pre-match. I looked at the team and I thought, no, that's probably the best of what we could put out. And yeah, pleased.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree. I mean, I think that, as I say, the choice was whether Ridvan or Hefty at left back, right back. And I kind of in my head, I thought Hefty would probably be better there because the way he drives inside, it might actually work better for him and his pace.
Yeah,
but come down to the right decision.
The only other thing that I could think of was moving to a 3 at the back and having proper central Sterling right centre back and Jeffy at left centre back, mainly because of his height, and then obviously you've got maybe Cherney on the right and then Ridvan on the left, and then try and tweak the formation. But again, that isn't something that you could just drop on the players after a couple of days training and expect them to pick it up really, really well. That would have to be like a work in progress over a couple of months to have that option. So that wasn't on the table. That's the only other thing that I could have suggested might happen.
So we start, Scott, I'll start with you. We start a couple of minutes. Celtic have a couple of dangerous crosses that Maeda beats Yilmaz, I think, for one of the only times in the game. Gets the ball across. There's the ball jumping up and down the air, really, for some reason, before it goes out of the corner. Corner's taken, a little bit of an opportunity. So I think that first 2 minutes was a little bit reminiscent of previous Old Firm games. It's a little bit frightening. You're thinking, this is going to be a tough start today, but it was literally only the first couple of minutes, and then we started to take control of the game.
To be honest with you, Gary, I can't even remember that. I thought the Celtic, I know he beat Ridvan right at the start, but I didn't really see a lot from it. I wasn't nervous at all. I think that's probably been, I don't know what age Liam Kelly is, so I apologise, I can't remember what age he is, but I think that's probably one of his quietest games he's ever had as a professional footballer. I thought he was, especially coming into an Old Firm game when your team's been playing well, I thought he was really good. He was really confident. His distribution was really good. But he didn't have a lot to do, so you have to credit to him. The back four and the defensive way we played for the boys in the middle, that was superb. And listen, I've heard a lot of different things today. The league's over. We kind of know that anyway, right? But that's why we got the result, or to make it better for the team. That's why they lost shite like that, right? But to be honest with you, I just think the boys performed. They all had a job to do, and for some reason they've done it. In previous games against Motherwell and St Mirren, they looked lost at times. yesterday, they all won their own battles against who we're up against. And I thought they'd done really well, especially Hadji, for me, and Raskin were the two boys in the pitch that everybody followed. They were fantastic. Hadji was constantly wanting to get forward. So was Raskin. Raskin never looks to pass sideways or backways unless he has to. But when he passes forward, he puts a spin on the ball. He puts effort to get it to the man. It's not laboured. It's not like just a wee. And he's always going. He never, even when he passes, he doesn't stop. He's always going for the next pass or following somebody. I just thought the energy was superb, and Barami, who seemed to have forgotten, I thought he was immense as well. I thought they all were Gary middle to front, but I thought they two right at the start, you could see the two of them had fire in their bellies, which we don't see a lot for this current Rangers team. I thought. And I'm not saying Raskin was like that because he had the Iron Man. I just thought that's the way he's starting to play. But Hadji's like a man possessed since he's come back. I know he's been in and out with forums, and people say he's maybe only a 60 there, he's not as good as we thought. But he's got that bit of extra nobody else in the side has, and we've seen it yesterday. So his passing is phenomenal. Instead of just going sideways or backwards, he's actually looking and putting the ball back the other way to the man and get it, because he knows there's runners here that can do that. So, listen, hats off to him, but we have to figure out another way to play, because we always kind of play that way, because we've usually got more of the ball. But yesterday we were fantastic, and it just shows you there is something there. There is something there with these guys, and it's no surprise it's the two guys we all thought were maybe going to leave halfway through the season, but it's the two guys here that are keeping that side together.
No, definitely. So, I mean, I think you're right. We'll talk through some of the other players. There's been a lot of talk in the last 24 hours about who done well, and some of them potentially maybe haven't got the credit they deserve. I thought Bajrami, as you say, was excellent, and probably very little talk about him. So we've got a couple of chances. In fact, Bajrami hits his own player twice. I think it was Hadji and Agaman with a good effort, in about 4 minutes or so before we get our first goal. And this is probably symptomatic of the whole game, Scott. I thought one of the things that was interesting was the tactical shape. And we're no tactical geniuses, but what was evident all the way was that Agaman was just sitting in the middle of Carter Vickers, Scales, letting them get the ball. The midfield sat back, let them get the ball, particularly Scales, let them run with the ball, and either run out of the park or pass it to nobody, or find themselves flustered. And that was evident. And it was also what caused the first goal, but it happened right throughout the 90 minutes.
We kind of stifled them in the middle of the park, and the between Diamande and Raskin, they made a fair few interceptions, tracking, winning the ball off their midfielders, which was really impressive. And we haven't seen that kind of combative nature in an Old Firm game in quite a while. So it's really encouraging. But I didn't really see that much difference. In terms of the quality in our play, much better than the cup final. Much better, but that's probably to be expected because there's going to be more nerves in a cup final. We cut out the stupid errors. And once you cut out the stupid errors, we don't concede the 3 goals. And it's really as simple as that, because we still worked it hard. We forced them into positions that they didn't want to be in with the ball. And what I noticed that was really decisive, and it's something that we worked in our game, is that where Celtic are strong is probably in these games catching us on the break. But when we get up the pitch, we're far more decisive in terms of we're making sure that there's an action at the end of every move, so they can't catch us on the break. So we're making sure, even from distance, when we see throughout the game, there's the tone of Yilmaz taking a shot, Hadji taking a shot, Bayrami taking a shot at the possible moment when it's probably not looking like they can manufacture that way into the box. They'll shoot from distance, which then kind of forces, it removes that ability for Celtic to pick the ball up in midfield and then put us on the back foot. So either the ball goes out of play, and that's when the primary one is getting the shot away. If you can't get the shot away, making sure the ball goes out of play. If you can't make sure the ball goes out of play, make sure you stop them progressing by having those tactical fouls. It's those tweaks in our mentality in the game that when we play teams like Celtic or in Europe, it's going to make the absolute world of difference. And you could tell because usually about the 60 or 70 mark, you start to feel and see Rangers get tired. These guys that are on the park could have played that starting 11 could have played for like 90 minutes, 100 minutes, 120 minutes, because they were in complete control of what they were doing. They weren't chasing the ball. The shape was, as you say, you picked up on it really perfectly. They couldn't get the ball out of their centre backs, and when they did, they couldn't find McGregor. Hitate is the one that had the ball, didn't have a pass, and he's played this wild pass into the middle of the park, and Raskin's doing his job. He's picked up the ball, won the ball, done a quick 1-2 by Rami. He's away, lays it off, and Hadji scores a really good goal from the edge of the box. It's the real decisive nature in what we're doing at the moment. But it's also frustrating because that's never going to work against Hibs on Sunday, for example, because they're never going to try and do that. They're going to bypass the entire midfield. So that's the other challenge, and that's the frustrating challenge. And we'll probably touch on it later in terms of what does Clement do or what the Rangers do. You know, that it still is a decision that needs to be made.
And we'll still need to come back to that. So we'll focus a lot on the game, then we'll try and talk about some of the where it leaves us as a whole. No, I think that makes sense. So as you say, Hadji scores an excellent goal. That first half, he was all over the place, particularly the first half. But what was, I suppose, Scott, you talked about there was evident was the three, Hadji, Bajrami, Cherny in particular, their ability to pick a pass, their ability not just to put the ball back the way or sideways, and no disrespect to maybe Conor Barron in the previous game at Parkhead. That range of ability to move the ball, quicker, or Selling, whoever was playing in different positions. The three of them are intelligent footballers. You don't need pace when you've got intelligence. And there was one ball Hadji plays into the middle of the park through the lines that kind of set us up. It might have been for a shot. She might have been Cherny's one, I can't remember. But it was just really nice football, and all the time we were able to break those lines. You're on mute, Scott.
That's the thing about Giannis. He plays with his head up, so he can make that reverse pass. He can play between the lines. He's a very clever player. I mean, you've got guys like Barami and Cherny who's on probably the same wavelength because that's the way they play. It is good, but we had that space because we were constantly nipping them winning the ball back. Raskin was superb. Diamandi was finding a lot of space when Raskin was winning the ball. And I know they covered a lot of McGregor, but it wasn't just Barami. When Barami was going to do something, somebody else went and sat McGregor. It could have been Hadji at times, it could have been Raskin, it could have been Diamandi, but we never let him sit there himself. A lot of times McGregor can run 30, 40 yards without anybody near him. He can in no firm games. You've seen it in the past. He totally controls the middle of the park, and you're thinking, can somebody just put a tackle in? But we never allowed that because we really gave him the ball, because there was always somebody sitting next to him or somebody moving about him, and we were marking the space round about him as well, so making Celtic difficult to pass. And we were giving it to guys on the Celtic side, like you said, Gary, we're letting Carter Vickers run mate and Scales because we're thinking, yeah, they can carry the ball from defence to midfield, but if not getting that pass, it can split you open unless it's a long ball. And that's the only thing that was going to back my mind, because we know we've been cut with the long ball quite a few times, but apart from the offside one, that never really happened. So the tactics were superb, and we scored 3 goals, but it could have been a lot more because we had our chances. I mean, Cherny hit the post, Bar. The man could have played them off better, as in the cup final. He didn't put enough on the ball, and I didn't think he was that bad yesterday. Man, either. I thought he was occupying the 2 big centre backs. He wasn't in their faces, but he was always round about there, so it's making it difficult for them. He was just occupying a space to let others play round about him because they didn't want to leave man himself. So somebody else had to be with him. So it was giving Cherny, Hadji, but I mean more space. Celtic didn't know what to do at one point. And usually Rodgers was quite clever at tweaking it because we've seen him do it in the past. But yesterday he couldn't. And I don't care if it was 14 points, 4 points or 44 points. They couldn't tweak it yesterday. We were the better side, and that's the reason we won. But it's only 3 points, as we know. So we have to work out how you play a different way, because European football, the way we play, like Scotty mentioned, is great. Playing against Celtic the same way. And obviously it's a Thursday, which helped, because Thursdays, for some reason, we play a lot of good stuff on a Thursday. But we're great when teams have the ball, and we've got a great shape, and we're disciplined at it, running it back and then hitting in the transition. But when we've got a lot of the ball, that's who we struggle. So that's what the manager's going to have to fix in the players. But let's say yesterday, I've watched the game back, and That was actually better watching it back. Usually, I don't really watch games back because we usually get beating them. But we were really good. We didn't really make any errors. Nobody was really poor. Everybody stuck to the job they were told to do.
I think that's what you're saying. You know, Egerman was probably not the poorest player because it's not the wrong word, but he's one that probably, if you're working through the players, you'd want to say maybe a 6 or a 7. But he still played well, and that's the thing. You know, with your whole team playing well, 8s or 9s in terms of ratings. If you're doing that, and when you're picking out somebody that still played decent, it's been one of the ones that people picked up and not playing as well. It probably shows how well the team, as a team, played. And I think, as you say, Scotty, it was exactly the same tactics as the cup final. Just we didn't make a couple of daft mistakes like Balogun did or Redvan missed it. And one of the things interesting was we'll talk maybe about Redvan and Hefty. I can't actually remember them being attacked by Kuhn or Maeda much because they didn't get the ball to them, which was the key point. The point is, if you get the ball, if these boys get the players, they have got ability to go by you. Because if you've got to stop the supply, and that's what Rangers did really well. I thought Diamande, Scott said to us, I thought Diamande was outstanding as well. Just his ability in those sort of games, and it's a long, long time since we've won the midfield battle.
Yeah, it really, really helps when the introduction of Hadji into the team, because he's an extra outball for the midfield. Receive the ball, and I tell you what, from if we say this is Hadji's second spell at Rangers, from his first spell pre-injury, he was very, very wasteful when he picked up the ball. He'd make bad passes, simple passes. He seems to have cut that out of his game. He also seems a bit quicker. I don't know how he's got faster post-injury, but I said this before, and he definitely had the bit between his teeth. Now, Hadji doesn't always play like that, and it's kind of like the emergence of Raskin when Raskin first put in that energetic performance in the middle of the park. We're like, wow, where has this guy been? That for me is now Hadji's benchmark. He can't drop below that energy level because we've seen he can do it. And then if he drops below it, it's because he's decided that he doesn't want to give that level. So being a massive fan of Hadji, he needs to repeat that. He also needs to be given the opportunity to repeat that. What Hadji and Diamande do is take the ball on the half turn very, very well. So Raskin can give them the ball. They take it on the half turn. And that immediately puts Celtic on the back foot. As I said, in terms of Maeda and Kuhn getting the ball, what they do on the transition is pick up the ball and run at you really, really well. As I said, they never got the ball on the transition. It was us winning the ball in the middle of the park, us progressing up the park quickly, and then killing the move. Now, this is where it's almost like the end of, I don't want to talk about Celtic too much, but you can almost see like the end of Angie's influence and the progression of Rodgers and the way that Rodgers likes to play. Very much progression, very much gradual move up the pitch. If you take that element away from Celtic of that transition, we're perfectly comfortable letting them slowly edge up the park and they pen us in because we can win the ball, take the ball on the half turn, Hadji, Diamande, Cherney, and we're away. And they're on the back foot, and they do not like that. They don't know how to cope with that. So we were doing all of the right things over and over again, cutting out the mistakes. And there are the special mentions of the players. I mean, touching on Igerman, for some reason, Igerman's played against them, 3 times now? Yeah. They look absolutely terrified of me. He's not actually really done much against them, but it's kind of like the reputation Morelos had. He barely scored against them.
Yeah.
But they hated playing him because they just see him as like a big physical guy that doesn't stop. Whereas, and I tell you there's a difference, and this is why Dessers is so easy to play against for like big centre-backs, because Dessers looks for the contact. Dessers continually looks for that duel. Carter Vickers is always going to win that. Igerman was always 2 or 3 yards away, not avoiding the duel, but he didn't need to get involved. All he had to do was make it difficult for Scales and Carter Vickers to win a header.
Yeah.
Right? Because we were picking up the second balls. So he doesn't need to get embroiled in that battle and take himself out of the game. So then we win the ball, the second ball in the midfield. Egerman is that extra man ahead of the Celtic defence, that extra pass that's occupying them. Whereas prior we had someone like Dessers, he'd be on the deck, out of the game. Yeah. Makes a huge difference.
I suppose it's something that just you talk about. So Scott, you know, one of the things that's interesting, and we'll come into this, and it probably leads into Hibs game, is that Clermont doesn't really want possession. I suppose in some ways, you know, and that's a daft thing to say, but possession isn't really his game. His game is about transition and getting it forward quickly. People moving the game forward. He's actually more comfortable when we've got less possession because it means we can attack quicker when we get the ball.
That was to Scotty there. It is Gary, but he's going to have to figure out a way to do it because in the Scottish League, apart from the Celtic, nobody really comes out and does that to us. And I know we've not had a great away record this season, but even though we're going to grounds like St Martin and Motherwell, and they're still sitting in but hitting us with long balls and chasing and being physical against proper and just hitting in areas where they can just chase it, whereas Celtic obviously don't. And Clermont's going to have to figure a way with these guys he's got there who are playing well in the way he wants to play. He's going to have to figure out how to do it the other way because this is his bread and butter. This is the league. If he doesn't have, if he can't figure out how to do that, he's going to have this rope so long to play with. Good results in Europe, good results against Celtic because we'll have to be challenging for our own league title. We can't be finishing 12, 14, 15 points behind them because we've played them twice and we've held our own. We won one game and lost in penalties. And I'm not saying they're a poor team. They aren't. They're the best team in Scotland at this moment in time. But we figured out a way how to nullify them and how to play well against them. Yeah, Celtic might tweak it again when the next plays, but they've had two difficult games against us and they know that. But against other teams, like Celtic can win quite simple, quite easily. We struggle. So Clermont is going to have to, that's his job, but he's going to have to figure out how to play against Hibs on Sunday, how to play against Dundee and likes that and get the points, because if he can't, he's not going to be in the job. Doesn't matter how many times we'll play well against Celtic or go away to Nice and win. This is what we need to win. This is what we need to be challenging. It's no our title, but it's the league, and this is our bread and butter. We need to be back in contention to win it again because it's been far too long.
Yeah. So definitely. So I'm not going to pick up on all the points because we'll be here all night. But half time comes. There's a bit of an occasion with Raskin. I think, and McGregor, a bit of a storm in the teacup. Don't quite get how you can only book one of them, but it wasn't anything dramatic. Second half comes, you start to get slightly concerned. I certainly was at half time, and we were speaking to Scott. The worry is, do we continue this form or does it start to dip? First 10 minutes of the second half, they come into it a little bit. They've obviously the offside goal with Kyogo, which was offside. But after 60 minutes or so, we then took control, and it appeared to be chance after chance. Cherny obviously in the post. Redvan was shooting from everywhere. Some of them were extremely wayward, some of them were on target. But we were really starting to take more and more control, and it was really starting to think, are we going to get that second goal until 66 minutes comes? So that kind of 15 minutes from 56 to 66, where we get the goal, 2 or 3 chances, Scott. We look as though we're in control again, and we score from a corner, which was surprising to everybody in the room, despite, because let's be honest, the corners have been pretty rubbish during that game as well. It wasn't any better than other games.
Yeah. No, I remember messaging into the group in that moment, that 10 minutes after half time, and I was just like, we can't keep playing this way, because we were doing the same thing and we were kind of like letting them have the ball, but then they kind of got sloppier with possession. It's like they didn't quite wake up after half time, but then it just clicked back into place, and the game kind of continued. Now that 5-10 minutes after half time feels like a lifetime, but it was only a few minutes in the entire game. So that 90 minutes performance was probably the most complete one that we've had under Clement, which is like obviously really pleasing considering who we were playing. The goal from a corner, I mean, still couldn't believe it. From my seat in the east enclosure, the ball was coming across and I could see, my eyesight's terrible, so I couldn't actually see who it was. But I could see that it was a Rangers player that was going to win the header first. And then after that, I didn't actually see what happened at all until the ball hit the net.
Yeah.
And it was really, really pleasing. And then I think we had a couple of corners after that. I was like, right, keep doing the same thing, keep doing the same thing. And I think, yeah, they were trying to man markers, but our movement in the box was actually pretty good to, jostle and get free. And really surprising that Raskin was the one to win the header.
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting? It just crossed my mind as you're talking there. So in the first half, so me and Scott obviously sat in the Broomland, so we're watching the attack, and we did have a number of corners. I don't know if you noticed this, Scott, but Proper deliberately took Carter Vickers way to the back post to free up, take us, and I wasn't sure whether to take away their best header as opposed to for him to get anywhere in the ball. I thought it was just quite clever. It was something very simple, but just made a difference and took away their threat from holding it.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously their most aggressive ball winner, and if you can do that, it makes sense. And then obviously we had the corner shortly after where Igerman almost was a little bit unlucky not to, get a shot on target at least. It just really freed up that front post, and the balls that we were putting in there were really, really dangerous. And then we reverted. I think we had a short corner shortly after as well. And I was just like, why we do short corners? And last time I said that was the cup final. We scored from the short corner, so it
was
can't moan too much.
But by that point, I think Scott, Celtic were really they didn't really offer very much. I think you talked about Igerman was running 2-1, played a simple ball by Rami, and then Ridvan, as I say, was shooting from everywhere. We were very much in ascendancy, and what was interesting was it wasn't surprising getting the third goal, if that makes any sense. It was more than deserving it, and it was quite straightforward. Hefty gets the ball, runs. I'm wondering why nobody's chasing him, but just keeps running, gets into the box and cuts it back, and Danilo with a nice sweeping finish. Scott.
Yeah, it was good to see for Danilo. Listen, I like Danilo. I think he's going to end up scoring a lot of goals for us. I think the more games he plays, the better he's getting. That was a good finish, and he kept his eye where the ball was going to go. Carter Vickers tried to cut it out, but he couldn't. But Hefty left McGowan and he's wheeled in. He just went, I'm off, you're not going to catch me. And listen, same with the second goal, but Raskin makes that run. And I heard some of the folk on radio and the sports scene saying somebody that has size should win in 3 headers, but a lot of small footballers won headers because the time they runs to perfection, and if it's a half decent ball and you can see Raskin termination, it was unlucky not to score because I think he got too clean a header on it because he done it really well, but it's just your willingness to get there, and that's what Raskin had yesterday, a willingness to get there. They got the header, and we had somebody picking up a rebound. And I'm glad it was Proper because I've been probably one of his biggest critics since he's joined the team because he has been poor at times, and you think, is he worth this money? Was he a captain at 20? Blah, blah, blah. And then you see a performance for yesterday and you think he marshalled that defence. It was him and Stillen were constantly talking to each other. I have to say, if you look at the game back, Raskin was talking to everybody. He was actually on everybody's ear. And I know I'm a captain to me should be leading, but it's no as big a thing to me these days as it used to be. But he was being a captain yesterday, Raskin. That was obviously his first time, but he was talking to everybody. He was over to Jeff at times, he was with Ridvan, he was talking constantly to Mandy. I don't know what he was saying, but even when he was running by somebody, he was talking to him. He was obviously just trying to keep them going, trying to keep us. And when we had the ball and it went back once, he's shouting. He's like, forward. He was wanting more. And that's all you want to see for your players, Gary. All you want to see is guys enjoying themselves, playing well, but wanting to go up the park because they know the other teams there for the taking. And they were yesterday. We scored 3 goals. But it wouldn't have been surprised if it was 4 or 5 because we were very, very dominant. And I don't care what anybody was saying if, I say, the league's finished or blah, blah, blah. That was embarrassing for them because they actually thought they were going to come to Ibrox yesterday, take a lead to 17 points and walk away as usual like they've done in the past with no fans there and celebrating. But they get totally destroyed. And yes, in the long run, it might not affect anything. But just yesterday shows us, and it shows the players, and hopefully it shows the manager, who I've been very critical of, that he's got something there.
No.
But it's up to him to make sure that something continues to go forward. And he doesn't revert back to A, B, and C once they're fit, just because it's A, B, and C. And don't go back to guys who haven't been playing well, just because it's these guys. Stick with the guys who have the shirt, who are playing well. And then when they maybe play bad, revert again. But we've got a big squad of players. We've got some guys who are eager to show what they can do. And that's a couple of times some of these players have stepped up. Yet in other games, they're back in the subs bench. So I'm just hoping Clements maybe sees something that he's not shown us yet, instead of getting back to some guys who don't merit a starting place at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously horses for courses in different games at certain points in time, as it always will be. I've just seen a comment in there, but I mean, one thing I will say, the person that threw a coin, just crazy. It's just daft. Why? You're 3-0 up. Just crazy. What did interest me?
I see that. See, throwing a coin, right? It happens at all stadiums, right? But I'm not going to use that as because it shouldn't happen at other stadium. You're 3-0 up. You're enjoying yourself for a change at football. And some idiot does that, and it ends up taking a lot of the glimmer off our one eye, and it turns to talking about that. And whoever done it, they'll probably get found out because there's cameras there, or somebody will probably say they shouldn't come back. They should let someone else into the stadium who wants to be there to enjoy the game instead of chucking coins at players. It's ridiculous. It's pointless. And if you want to chuck coins at folk, don't come to a football match. Go and date somewhere else.
100%. So, I mean, I suppose picking up with the argument that it's 14 points ahead and we've nothing to play for, that's why we took Celtic, took the edge off it, etc., etc. The one thing we would refute that was if I was Celtic, the fact that they've listened for 3 weeks about how Rangers are the better team in the cup final and should have won it, you would want to put them in their place, would you not? If that was me, do you think the other way about you'd be wanting to show, no, we're the best team. So I think it's a bit of a weak excuse to say because we're so many points ahead that that's why we've not performed as we had. So I think you can argue that case. I'm sure if they'd won the game, they would never have been saying it was because we were so far ahead. I think it's an easy thing to say after the event. So just picking up a couple of players, Scott. They all played well, so don't want to really pick out any great individuals, but Proper, as Scott said, he's had a lot of abuse. He's a lot of criticism at different points in time, rightfully so. And in a lot of league games, he looks like he's not adjusting to it particularly well. Certainly European games and the game yesterday, he looks like quite a cultured defender and solid and strong and physical and stuff that you'd actually want from a centre half.
Well, I mean, I'm not overly convinced, and I'll not take one performance to really change my judgment. What he did do, and what I don't like about Proper is the fact that he dives in. He comes into the middle of the park, dives in, and takes himself out of the game. Unless he wins the ball, he takes himself out of the game, and that really puts us on the back foot. I think he only really did that once in the entire game. Now, because he only did it once, shows that there was an element of control about his game, which I really liked. Didn't panic on the ball. Sometimes he panics on the ball. He just humps the ball at the pitch. But again, I think that's more now familiarity with the players that he's playing with, where they're going to be. Raskin, Diamande, Hadji are three guys that are always going to be available. You've got the guys either on the defensive side of the flank that are always going to be available to him as well. So it was definitely a more mature performance from him. And he did, he worked hard, deserved his goal, but everyone worked hard. And again, touching on Raskin as captain and, talking about how much he was talking, that's definitely got to be a factor. The amount of times that, I don't want to turn it into a negative, but you don't feel like there's that presence in the middle of the park, kind of orchestrating things, keeping everyone control. You don't really feel that a right back is in a position to be the conductor. Yes, he's an important player, but you just can't, like having a goalkeeper or a striker as your captain. Your captain, for me, needs to be the most vocal person in the middle of the park. They're in a position to have a say in everything that goes on. Maybe there is something in it for the fact that has resulted in our most complete performance of the season. The fact that we had a guy in the middle of the park communicating, coaching, helping everyone out. I think Graham Souness was probably the best at it, especially recognising when guys around him weren't having the best game, he would help them out. Barry Ferguson, bit moany, but again, one of his key characteristics and why he was such a good captain, because he never shut up. And that's exactly what you need. And maybe it did help, and maybe it encouraged Proper to find his voice, find his leadership role with Sterling, who's a young guy, with Jeffy, who's also a young guy. And and you hope that this is the start. Yeah, okay, we've had a tough 4 or 5 months. You can't always expect players to sign, bed in straight away, and then feel comfortable in their surroundings enough to impose themselves. But there's always going to be a turning point. There's always going to be that. Hopefully, that's that catalyst that we've got. That they have the belief, they have the courage and the encouragement to use this as a springboard.
I want to start with you on that then, right? So we'll welcome back maybe to some of the players again, but picking on Clement then. So I think a lot of people had said his time was up after the last 2 games. You know, there was no going back. Even a win against Celtic wouldn't change that tide. I think that's without people realising when we're going to have as comprehensive a victory as we've had, and I wonder what that has actually done for his future. I don't know what's done for your perception of his future, Scott. I'm going to come to you, Scotty, as well. We'll both Scotty first, then come to Scott as well. So I'm interested because it has shown in different points in time there is something there, as you said. But is there enough patience, or can we think he can do it in away games and so forth?
Now, there's so many ways to take this, because on one side, I listen to Clement talk and I feel like he's gaslighting us. He's telling us that what we can see is not what we can see. We're wrong. And that really frustrates me. And then I start to wonder, what does he tell the players? But then you listen to the players talk and they're very much like, he helps us on an individual level an awful lot. If we're going through a tough time, he's actually a really good person to have around. So then you start kind of second guessing yourself, and maybe he's just one of these managers that says stuff and takes all the heat away from his players. In terms of the direction that Rangers need to go, thankfully, I'm not a decision maker, because these are some really tough decisions. And keeping Clement or getting rid of him, both of them are huge decisions. And it feels like that decision needs to be made on a weekly basis. That's really frustrating, and you don't want to be in that position, because then it feels like it's a matter of time. What we do know is something needs to change with the away form, and that may change. We could go on a run. We've gone on a run before, but the football has not been good. The football is dull, and if that happens on Sunday, we're going to have the same conversations. It's time for him to go. It's dull. What yesterday does, it shows that, and I've always held this belief that we have got really good footballers at the club. It confirms that we're in a position, if we get a different manager in, he's got a lot of tools to work with. And there's a huge potential there. But then it's better the devil you know. Do you stick with it and go, actually, no, this is a project? I feel like he has, at the 7th attempt or whatever it is, finally found a way to beat them. But you don't win titles by just beating them. No. You need to beat everyone. And he hasn't done that.
No. Scott, I'll come to you. No, I get it. I mean, I'm the same. You know, I spoke to Scott yesterday, and I can see every angle of it. I get undecided whether there's pros and cons either way. If you wanted to make a case for whatever outcome you want, you can do it. Scott, you've been quite vocal about your, I'll use dislike, maybe I'm trying to think of the nicest, politest word to say, of Clement and how you don't think he's a man for the job. But there is little flickers at times that make you think there's something there.
No, I just think he's stubborn and he gets lucky at times. I think he's got one way he wants to play, and it works in Europe, and it worked yesterday, and it works when we're in a game situation where his formation and his tactics do work, like when we're having to maybe sit deep at times, nick the ball, press, and then go in transition. It works perfect where he wants to play. I think we're on the front foot. No, he's not got a clue. I also think he's too stubborn in some of his decisions, and I don't think he's a good man manager. I personally don't. I think there's a lot. I think yesterday's game was won more by the players than it was by him. And I'm no criticising, because I thought his tactics were spot on yesterday, but I think the players you can see the players wanted it. But Clement thinks we're daft. That's my issue with Clement as well. He thinks we're daft. I agree with Scott. He does gaslight us far too much. And I think long term, he'll not be here. I think we'll get to the end of the season, but I think coming in the season, Patrick Stewart's got a big decision, and I think the decision will be a new manager, because I don't see Clement winning this. I know he won the League Cup, but I don't see him challenging for the league title. Not this season or next season under Clement. I don't think he's got it enough. But saying that, he could probably prove me wrong and we could get to the Europa League final. That's the thing I think it could happen, do you know that way? But I just don't see long-term future as a manager for me. But that's just my opinion. Listen, see if he proves me wrong, I'll be happy as anything, and he can say, fuck you. I don't really care, because Rangers were winning the league. But in my opinion, I just don't think he's good enough.
That's exactly my thoughts. I hope I'm completely wrong. And he says, like, get it up, yeah, because I'd be delighted.
That's what you want. Nobody wants to change managers all the time. We've done it too many times. It's not working. It's not changing it. It's not fixing it. You want to actually hang your hat on somebody and have it.
See, one thing it will make me back him more, if he doesn't revert straight back to Tav when he's fit and Butland when they're fit. And I'm not saying I'm not going to come back into the team, they will. But he done it with Tav. He dropped him for a couple of games and brought him back in, and his performances were okay, and he started to the window. And he was dropping other players. And then he brought in Dessers and Dowell to play against, was it Motherwell? At Cortez, and you're thinking, come on here, give us a chance. Do you know that way? It's just some of his decisions. And if he could just stick to the guys who are doing well, and you're thinking, right, I'll give Ridvan a chance, I've got Raskin a chance, I'll play Barami and Hadji, but he won't. He'll go back to his favourites. And that's what I know every manager has their favourites. But if I see Tav and Butland back in the team sheet, just because it's Tavernier and Butland, I don't think that's fair on other guys who've been doing a job better than they have recently.
I don't think you can drop Ridvan from right back after that. I thought he was really good defensively and going forward. I thought he was a threat in everything that he did. So, he's done more at right back than Tav has.
Today's not a day for that. I wouldn't argue the case that Maeda had done nothing in the cup final either. Really, other than a mistake by Balogun, or to have scored various goals the last couple of weeks. So I think I do think it's horses for course. I get a bit annoyed with this. I suppose this is my own frustration. Is that we've got a squad of players. It's not about 11 players play well 1 week and the rest of them should never play again. There's a squad that should rotate, and I mean that across the whole board. I mean sometimes Dessers will play, sometimes Cortez will play, sometimes Ridvan, whoever it may be. We get too hung up sometimes when we win a game that these players all need to be the ones that play.
Gary, don't just bring them back. Don't just bring them back because it's who they are. Make them work their way to back in. Make them work their way to win that shot back. Don't just say, right, Tavernier's fit, he's back in. They'll make him work for it.
That's fine, but it's not 11 players. It's a squad. We need to be able to rely on the full squad to get anywhere. That's
exactly. But the rest of the squad comes in when there's either injuries or underperformance, not just because. I think that's the point. Once you identify a strong team and a strong 11, you keep them together so they can actually develop the unity. When you've got an 11 who are underperforming and they're not demonstrating that unity, but they have individual moments, that's where you're going to struggle. And I think that is where a lot of the team selections have come from, because Tav has been poor or average, let's say, for a lot of the season and done nothing to really warrant keeping his position in the team. But he gets picked because he's captain, and he also doesn't really have that much competition. Now, if Yilmaz comes in, albeit as a left back, but we might actually stumble on the fact that he works best in this Rangers team as a right back because Cherney hugs the touchline, because he likes and he's got the ability to run with the ball and then cut in and get a shot away, then you keep him.
Yeah, the only counterpoint to say that is Ridvan's been slated all season by most Rangers fans for being really poor when he has played. So it varies depending. I mean, he played really well yesterday, but one good game doesn't make him.
Ridvan hasn't played all season. I don't understand how he could have been slated. He hasn't played.
But what was the game he played last week? He was abysmal. Going for him. I can't remember what it was it Smyrna Motherwell? I keep forgetting what it was. But anyway, this isn't about criticising players. I think it's more about just saying, we will vary the team. It's good to see a full team play well, and that takes me to the question I'm going to ask you, Scott. When's the last time Rangers won as comprehensively against Celtic as this? When can you last remember us performing? Was it 24 shots a goal to their 4? They had 1 in target. I think we had 9 in target, although a lot of them outside the box. So I know people have mentioned the Hollander 1-0 game, but I think I don't remember that being as comprehensive.
No, that wasn't. That was they had a fair few chances, and Robbie McCrory pulled out of some really good saves. That was like a nail-biting game. That was not a comfortable victory. Going to have a controversial shout. The most dominant fixture I can remember was that Gerard League Cup final. We lost it.
Oh yeah,
that in a meaningful game, and we lost it. Other than that, it's been years and years and years and years.
I was actually thinking about a game in the cup final before you mentioned that, Scotty, because I remember walking at Hampden and thinking, how did we manage to lose that? I mean, that was a game we dominated from start to finish and even missed a penalty. Do you know that way we still lost the match? Probably looking back to maybe when the game Ray Wilkins scored, Gary. I think it's been that long since it's been that dominant. Do you know what I mean? Because Old Firm games are usually tight, and in the last, apart from under Steven Gerrard, we've not done a lot of tight fixtures because obviously they've been winning the league quite a lot and they've been winning nearly every Old Firm game apart from when Steven Gerrard was here. So it's been difficult for Rangers, but yesterday shows you the players can't hit that bar and they have to keep hitting that bar. Maybe just below it, but they have to keep it at standard of willing to win and willing to play.
So let's look at the Hibs game then, just because we've got on Sunday with the on Friday. Sorry, we got to say something started there.
Yeah, do we have to look at it? Because I think we're still fairly positive mood.
No, but I think the key point is we need to turn that around. I mean, our home record at Ibrox has been good. I think was it 9 wins and a draw, and have scored lots of goals and 2 6-0s and all the other stuff that we've done this season. The problem is away from home, and I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot, right? Because we've got 5 to 10 minutes left of the podcast. I want to kind of focus on what we need to do is turn around our away form. What would you do to change? Because what we've been doing up to now this season has worked. So, and that definition of insanity thing, you do the same thing over and over again, you get the same results. What would you do differently on Sunday then to get us a win against Hibs at Easter Road?
Who, me?
Yes, on the spot.
Right,
a hangover.
So, get rid of a hangover. Energy. First of all, we need to see the 10 outfield players give everything like they gave. Regardless of the 10 players that selected, they need to give everything. We've got to stop assuming that the ability of the players is enough to unlock defences and see us over the line, because it just feels like that. It feels like we pitch up to Dundee or Ross County or wherever, and we're like, right, okay, well, we're better than these and we'll find a way eventually if we just keep the ball and we'll just keep plugging away. No, you need the energy in the fight. And as I said, Yanis Hadji is the perfect example of that, because he was a man possessed. That's his bar. That's his energy level. That's what he needs to do. Anything less, and it's not good enough. Guys like Bayrami need to find a way to impose themselves in these fixtures when it's really tight in the final third. There's not a lot of space. You have to move around. You're going to be in duels constantly. When you receive the ball to feet, you've got to get comfortable with that. Bayrami seems to go hiding because he's looking for too much space and too much time, which is pushing him away out of the action areas. That's key and important. So whether Clement decides to bring in Danilo from the start for Bayrami, bearing in mind Bayrami was brought in yesterday to do a specific job and role, which he did really, really well. I don't think that's necessarily going to fit on Sunday. And we need to take our chances. We won't get as many chances. I know this sounds strange, but we won't get as many chances against Hibs as we did against Celtic. So we need to be clinical. But we've been saying that all season. But we just need that committed performance, because Easter Road is a tough place to go at the best of times, let alone, feels weird saying this, but I think they're the league's informed side. So, yeah.
They've not had it for ages.
Exactly. I just take any sort of positive result, to be honest.
Oh, we're all back. We're all back. Don't know what happened there. That was slightly bizarre. We all cut off for a second there. No, Hibs are in form. They've been doing well. They still are likely to make a mistake here and there. I think at the bad start of the season. Scott, then back to you then. So Scotty's plan, take out by Rami, go by the same team on that. Attack, energy, pace. What would you be looking at, Scott? Any change difference?
I'd probably go with that because Hibs don't play a lot of football. They've got boy up front who likes to run. Can't remember the other boy's name. It's quite quick and they hit the channel. Yeah, you hit the channels. They try to get up. They try to move up the park quickly. Don't you? I've seen a couple of games and highlights on TV, and you just get it back to the front very quickly. So they do when they get the ball. So they will bypass him out of the park a lot of the time. So I don't think you need somebody else sitting there. So I think we need to occupy our defenders more. I think bringing Danilo back in, who's got really good movement, I have to say. I think having Gaman, Hadji, Journey, and I think Diamandi, I think that's enough to. Hibs do concede goals, Gary. They're not the best defensive. I know they've been playing better only because they've been putting the ball in the opposition net instead of their own, but I still think they're beatable. I don't think they're great. They're just obviously getting a couple of wins. Looks better than what they've done at the start of the season because they weren't getting nothing at all. But I think Rangers should be going there and winning comfortably. But will we? I don't know. But I think we have to go there and play at least like we were doing. Play the two boys up top and three behind them and just go for it. We can't sit back and let a team like Hibs come on to us and thing. I know that's the way Clement likes, as we all know that. But they're going to just hit us with a long ball. And I see we will see a different proper. Is he going to butt for this? Because it's not going to be played in front of him. It's going to be played over him or down inside him. And that's where he struggles. So I think I have to say just go out for attack. But somebody mentioned Ryan Kent. I've heard that's a no-go. I've heard that's just rumours. It's media talk. So, but if it was true, I would take him back 3 times on a Sunday and twice on a Thursday. But no, I would take Kent back. I know he's been a pain in the arse. I know everybody's figure to hate when he left. But if he's a free, I would take him back because to me he's better than Cortez and Matondo.
Yeah, I would agree. Take it back. He was a good footballer. You know, I think he's a good. He had some phenomenal moments with us. And even if it was a short-term deal, we might add a bit. But I don't think it's going to happen. Don't think there's a need for that. I think we've got other priorities, probably in other positions before we'd look for a left winger at this point in time. Scotty, then your scoreline for Sunday.
1-0 Rangers.
Do you have a scorer? MD in mind? Yilmaz hit 6 shots yesterday. Could go with him. He's bound to hit one on the target.
Raskin.
Scott, your scoreline?
I think we'll win 3-1, but I think Hibs will score, but I think we'll win. I think Danilo will get 1. I think Cherny will get 1, and Danilo will get 2. Danilo will get 2 with Cherny, but I think we'll win. I think we'll actually win quite comfortably, Gary, but I say it'll be 3-1.
So I want to just finish up the pod now, just as I was thinking, Scotty, it's about your favourite moment from yesterday.
Raskin can't score. He's bloody suspended.
No, it's not Dundee game. No, it's not. It's the Dundee game from his fine tomorrow.
He's missing
it's next Thursday against Dundee. So just to finish up the pod, then let's stay in a positive note. We don't often have such comprehensive wins in Old Firm New Year's Day or New Year. What was your favourite moment of yesterday? What was the moment that sticks out in your head when I say Rangers 3, Celtic 0?
Come back to me. Let everyone think. Scott's quicker off on the feet
Scott,
than me.
Scott, you're sharp. Scott's still hungover.
There's a couple, Gary. I think yesterday. I think Danilo putting the third one in it. I was so happy getting the third goal. But also after the match, I was watching later on at night. I was watching the interviews and I was seeing Raskin and Hadji talking, and they were complimenting each other. And you can see there's a bond there, and you can see the two guys love playing with Rangers and they love the support. And I think we get guys like that on your side, you're going to have a decent team if you manage to put it out properly. Because the two of them yesterday were buzzing. But it just shows you, like Scotty mentioned earlier, we've got players there who are really good footballers. It's just getting to work in the park. But Danilo putting a third on yesterday, because I just imagine his dad somewhere giving it loudly.
I don't know. Is he still here? Or is he way back?
They're probably doing it in the plane or crossing the Atlantic. I don't know where he is, but his dad loved it when he scored. And listen, he took his goal well yesterday, so he did, and he came on. I thought he'd done well, and No, so I enjoyed yesterday, but Danilo scoring the third was really good.
Yeah,
Scott, you've had time.
Right, special mention for what Kerr said in the interview. I think that was a really nice moment, and Raskin just seems like a really good egg. Really enjoyed his post-match interview and saying what we all think. But moment of the game when Hadji picked up the ball in our own half, and he didn't really have much time and space, and he did a couple of shimmies, turned and found some space, and then he looked up, and I watched it back on TV, but it looks a lot slower on TV than it did in real time. But the way he looked up and threaded that ball through to, I think it was Raskin in the middle of the park, or maybe Bayrami, it was a really sensational pass, because it was an eye of the needle stuff, because he actually threaded it through two Celtic players. But it doesn't look as narrow as it was on TV, but it was like really, really tight. I could see it from angle. It was such a good pass, such a composed move. Could have taken the easy option of passing it back to the defence, but he chose not to, continue moving forward. And it's those kind of moments throughout the game that set the tone of what we were going to do. And to continually do it and continue to be brave for the whole team. But I just feel that moment is like one of them that epitomised the performance as well.
Yeah. No, I didn't agree.
I love Hadji, and I think he's got huge potential. He's 26 now, but he's not actually played a lot of football for a guy with his experience.
It was outstanding. That was. I remember watching it at the time, just thinking that's real ability, twist and turning, the ability to keep the ball and then look, put his head up and play an outstanding pass. I think I'll go with then just to kind of with proper to get a goal. Whether it turns out to be Bert Conterman, whether it turns out to actually be a centre half, who knows? But I think it's good to see somebody's been much maligned for a lot of the season to score that goal in such a crucial game, and seeing the joy in his face, and even some of the stuff after his interview again when he was very excited and talk about the noise and hybrids. That's what you sometimes want to hear and see, and it was just nice to see that moment. Really, I think and 2-0 also gives you that cushion. You're probably not going to get beat.
Also, just to say, Gary, Liam Kelly changing his Instagram photo to him holding his hands up when the final whistle, but he was so proud yesterday playing against Celtic. It's all he's ever wanted to do since he was at Rangers as a young lad, and you can see how much it meant to him, and he done really well yesterday. And you maybe never start an Old Firm game, you just never know, but yesterday you seen how much it meant to him. It probably meant the same to all his family, so delighted for Liam Kelly.
Yeah, we haven't actually talked about him, and I kind of had in the back of my mind to talk about him, but it was actually a really mature performance from him, and he looked like he'd been Rangers goalkeeper and played in this fixture about 100 times. The way that he slowed the tempo down when he needed to, gave us a breather to then go again. When he played it quick, he beat the press. Now, his distribution wasn't always spot on in terms of the execution, but in terms of the decision making, it was 100%. Like when to put it out to the channels, the trajectory that he gets on his kicks up the park is something else. That makes it really difficult again for Scales and Carter Vickers to have any sort of control over the header that they make, which allows us to win the second ball. Because if you've got a high looping one, you've got the time, you can read it, you can find a man. When it goes like an Exocet missile, and then you've got Igerman who's right in front of you, you don't really have much chance in controlling that header or putting the direction on it. That's his technique and that's his ability. He made saves. He came out when he needed to. He commanded his box. He didn't have that much to do, but again, that's a testament to him and his organisation of the backline. So, yeah, really mature performance. Well done.
No, it was excellent. It was really good, and you see that way that Celtic quite clever. Well, Celtic, you know how they play. Maeda and Kuhn push right up. So if you can dink the ball to the fullbacks or to Czerny and Hadji, as he often done, and you've got the skill and the distribution to do that. And it was excellent with his feet. You see, it didn't always come off, but the idea was quite obvious at the game, which was good. So I think we came at the end of the pod. What I suppose is the start of 2025. I'm sure Scott would like me to say thank you for all the subscribers over the course of the last 6-9 months or so. I think we've got around about 1,200 now. There's about 2,000-3,000 people watching each of the episodes. I don't know if you want to say anything, Scott. You know, this is your baby.
No, just to thank you everybody for joining in at nights and watching us. I know we can talk nonsense at times, but we're just doing it because we love talking about Rangers, love talking about football, and it's great. When I started that, I didn't expect to get a lot of people, Gary, and it was me and Davey at the time, and we got a few people, and then more and more started watching and joining us in, and there's a lot of people who put really good comments, say they appreciate the stuff we do, so I really do appreciate that, and like yourself, Gary, Scotty, there's Ross, JD, Ricky, Davey, there's all guys who have come on. Volunteers, they don't get anything for it, they come on through their own time, but I have to say, he's all talk more nonsense than me, but I'm only kidding. He's all talk a lot of sense, and it's hard work hosting, Gary. I appreciate you doing that because David done it for a while, and I said the same to him. It's not something I enjoy. I prefer sitting on the other side, it's just talking, but being a host is difficult. But like I say, thanks to yourself, Scotty, GD, Ross, Ricky, and if there's anybody else out there it's been on in the past, so thanks to him as well. But we're always looking for that guys to join us, but anybody's welcome as long as you just want to talk about Rangers. But thank you a lot, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, and more importantly, thank you to people that watch it. You know, we still talk rubbish and talk about the football, even if nobody's watching. But it's much more interesting when you see people making comments, contributing, and giving views, and it makes you think about things as you're actually chatting away. So thank you for everybody, and again, here's hoping that continues to grow in 2025. More people participate, more people come on the pod, and you enjoy as you have up to now. So I think we're now 1 hour 7 minutes into, so a little bit probably longer than we'd anticipate. I don't know if you've anything, Scotty, you want to pick up on, or you just now want to get back to the darts?
I'm fine, guys. I'm fine.
what I should say, well, it's in my head now. Ricky isn't here tonight, so just when you mentioned Ricky did predict a 3-0 win. It'd be remiss of me not to say that he thought that was going to happen. So well done, Ricky, for getting it right. It might be the first time of the season so far, but and the biggest game of the season. So thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you. Well, today's Friday, and I'm lost track still. Festively. Today's Friday. We will see you on Monday. Have a lovely weekend, and hopefully we beat happy. Cheers. Thanks now. Bye now.